And you were my purple, furry, good Samaritan.
What's a good Samaritan?
It's in the Bible.
Welcome back to Boys Bible Study. We're the prodigal sons of podcasting. We're back, baby. It's Boys Bible Study. I'm Ash. I'm here with my co-hosts,
Scott and Julian.
And today we have a very interesting film called Brother Enemy. The person who introduced us to this is our friend. He is a DJ, a video artist, and a contributor to Everything is Terrible. He actually hosted one of our live streams just the other week. Please welcome Dante Fontana. Hey, Dante.
Hello, hello.
Hey, welcome to the Sunday school classroom. We're very pleased to have you. You do a lot of things. One of my favorite projects of yours over the years has been your Mystery Mix series. Could you please tell people about that? Because I think it's a really unique video art piece that you do.
Well, thank you. Dante's Mystery Mix is a video project of mine where anything goes. Music videos, commercials, news clips, game show clips, anything goes. And I was inspired by my friend Troy, who in the infancy of DVD burning at home, probably the first friend I knew who collected found footage, just started burning these amazing mixes and just giving them away to friends. And I just thought, I got to do this. I didn't know how to edit, or it took me years to pull this off. And when I finally did, it was Dante's Mystery Mix.
I love the tone of your mixes. They're very like trippy in a good way. It's like posy vibes only, but it's still this like really marvelous found footage collection of like all this like European TV and like game shows and stuff. Like how do you find all this stuff? Are you like watching that much TV, or is it online, or how are you curating this?
It started taping stuff off TV when I was a kid. There's at least a couple clips on each volume that literally come from a video cassette that I still have that I taped off when I was a kid. And then in the early days of the internet, trading my tapes with stuff I taped off TV with stuff other people taped off TV. I did a lot of swapping in the early days of the internet. And then fast forward to now, now it's just any way I can get footage, taping it off, recording it off the internet or off TV, or stock footage companies from France or Germany. Mm-hmm. Just any way I can get my hands on something, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, totally. And you've been contributing to Everything is Terrible, other very notorious and prolific collectors of found footage. Found footage really, like, for people listening to the show, we particularly delve into like Christian movies and stuff, but like found footage really sort of unites us all together. And Dante's been in that scene with us for a long time, making really cool stuff. So it's very nice to have you on the show.
It's be 10 years now. I think 2011, I started up with EIT.
Really?
I just realized that now.
Wow. Yeah. It's been, I met EIT, I met Scott and the rest of EIT in 2008 when you all had your first movie. And yeah, it's crazy. I think that was over a decade ago now.
Wow.
It's insane. Love that. And, the other week on our stream, you brought out a bunch of Christian films. I want to say mostly stuff from the 80s. Can you talk about some of the ones you played? And then we'll get into the film that we actually watched with you today.
Well, I think the first one of these I found was a movie called Sammy. We didn't watch that last weekend. It was a little boy who loses his cat. That's the plot. Mm-hmm. And that turned me on to Mark IV Productions. I think at the end of that videotape, I rented that, I think, from Eddie Brand's Saturday Matinee, not knowing even it was a Christian movie or anything. I just liked the cover. At the end of that was a trailer for Mark IV Productions. And that is kind of what opened up this whole world to me that I didn't know about, of these, his name's Russell S. Doughton Jr. And he co-founded this company with a guy named Donald W. Thompson. We watched a couple of his movies last weekend as well.
Sure.
So yeah, they switch off directing it. So once I found one, I had to watch all of them.
Of course.
Yeah.
It just went way down the rabbit hole, and I forgot what I was
gonna say.
No
Yeah, you were
worries.
just talking about Mark IV Productions and like the ones that you showed on our stream the other
Mustard
week.
Seed International.
I love these fucking film companies.
They're all
So
out of
good.
Des Moines, Iowa. And yeah, I just became obsessed. Oh, I know what I was going to say. The most famous one, the one that everyone seems to know, is the Apocalypse one.
Thief in the Night.
Thief in the Night. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So out
Same
of
guys,
this
wow.
whole collective of movies, that's the one that really, I guess, people consider a home run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually haven't formally
Yeah.
covered that one for the show yet, but it's frequently requested. We
Yeah.
definitely plan to in the future.
It's
but-
also like if you just Google Christian movies, that always comes up.
interesting. And that's a Mark IV production?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. I didn't
And,
know that there was that through line there. That's
yeah,
very interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, the one we watched today is called Brother Enemy. This is a 1981 film. Is this a Mark IV?
It sure is.
Okay.
So all the ones, so those who showed up to the live stream last weekend,
Mhm.
thanks. The comments were awesome. I was in really good company. The boys' Bible study fans were awesome.
Yeah, our listeners rock. They really know their stuff.
Yeah.
The first and last movies were Cristiano Brothers movies, which we don't need to talk about them today because if you listen to the podcast Boys Bible Study, you already know all about the Cristiano Brothers.
Sure do.
But all the other movies, the ones in the middle, those were all Mark IV productions. Every single one of them.
Amazing.
We watched, just to recap, those were Brother Enemy, which we'll be talking about today, and then Heaven's Heroes, The Shepherd, and Face in the Mirror.
Heaven's Heroes kicked so much ass.
Yeah.
We're going to cover that one in the future. It was just about how cops are angels and they're so good. And you know what? This seems like a through line with Mark IV stuff. They're very occupation based movies. It's like, I'm a cop and I'm an angel. I'm an Air Force pilot and I'm an angel. I'm a puppeteer and I'm an angel. It's like, no matter what job you do, you can serve the Lord.
I kind of miss the classic occupations.
Yes.
I feel like that's
Yes.
slowly going away.
Agree.
You know, now you ask someone what they do. They work from home.
Right.
Influencer.
They influencer. They juggle 6 different jobs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's just get back to the good old days where we just had a doctor and
Yeah.
Candlestick maker.
Right. right.
Not a candlestick maker and a DoorDash delivery driver.
Right.
Everyone's
Hog
got
all the
their,
jobs.
their damn side hustles.
That's so
Enough
true.
with the side. All right, I understand. We all need side hustles right now.
Of course.
It's fine.
At the same time, no, I completely, I know what you're saying. I think the Mark IV movies part of the reason they do resound is they evoke a contemporary golden age in American culture. They're very idyllic in a way, right down to the, beautiful synth soundtracks. But let's talk about Brother Enemy. So, let's say any background on the film, its major players before we start talking about the general plot and everything. Is there anyone of note or anything of note from the production or cast that we should introduce people to before we get in?
Well, Dante, you mentioned that. What is the star of the movie? What's his name?
That would be William Wellman Jr.
Yeah, he's been in something like 80 different films and television series.
Yeah, check him out on IMDb. What's interesting about these movies, they're mostly like kids from the local theater that are, probably audition and get the part. Every now and then they bring in like a heavy hitter, like someone with a lot of experience. Like when we watched this shepherd that had Dee Wallace, the mom from E.T. and her real life husband.
Yeah.
And like they just come in and knock it out of the park. And this is definitely the case with the guy who plays our hero character, David Wiemer of Wiemer Puppets.
He killed it. He was so brooding and dark and intense.
Yeah.
Loved him.
I wonder if they got him for free because he grew up in the same town as the director. Like how in the movie, I'm just making this up because in the movie he's putting on this puppet production for free, even though he's a famous puppeteer with a network television puppet show.
Right. Yeah, he's sort of like a Christian Jim Henson. So yeah, he's a notable cast member. Check him out. But yeah, let's introduce. He is playing in Brother Enemy. This character, David Wiemer.
That's
David
correct.
Wiemer.
You know, the children's story hour.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that clip in right now.
Hiya, kids. See you at this afternoon show. Little change from basketball, huh?
This sign says no basketball practice for 8 weeks.
That's right. We've got David Wiemer. You know, the TV show, the children's story hour, Wiemer Puppets. Well, maybe you're a little old. Come to the show this afternoon.
Yeah, David Wiemer, we are led to believe, is this maybe nationally, at least regionally famous kid show puppeteer who has a very obvious like Christian slant to his work.
And this is all fictional. This is all within the storyline.
Of course. And he is coming to town to put on a show to fundraise in some capacity. I think that's the essential premise here.
Yes, the church needs money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always needs money. Where does it go?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
And I don't understand because I am putting my envelope into the gold plates when they pass them around. What the hell are they doing with this stuff?
Yeah.
Is it the church or maybe it's the school that needs money? I can't.
It sounded kind of like the school needed money.
New equipment, whatnot.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And, this leads to one of the first and like most, I would say, confounding things about the film is that, so this is a film that we're led to believe, Mr. Wiemer is doing something really good for the kids. But the movie opens with Wiemer's production just like completely shutting down the school gym so he can take it over for 2 entire months to put on his goddamn puppet shows. What is up with this man?
It's a long time.
That's a long time.
It is.
I mean, some of that time is dress rehearsal.
Oh, of
It's not-
course.
Sure.
But I don't know. I mean, what do we think? Do the kids need a basketball tournament or do they need a puppet show?
Yeah, well, that's the thing we haven't said yet. So kids show up to the gym to play basketball like they usually do. And the, athletic director, whoever's in charge of the gym was like, oh yeah, there's no basketball for 8 weeks. We got a puppet show here instead.
Totally acts like he's doing them a favor by bringing in a puppet show geared towards like his 5-year-old daughter and thinking that the high school kids are going to be super excited about having their after school activity taken away, which one of them uses to escape from an abusive household.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this athletic director just says, "No, sorry, you're you got to go home after school now."
Yeah, we're gonna find out that this movie centers around a group of kids, maybe delinquents, not even really quite that, just like a group of kids.
They were driven to a life of crime
By a fucking puppet show.
Yeah.
David Wiemer drove them to commit a criminal offense because of his goddamn puppets.
Yeah.
Well, I still don't think it's David's fault.
Okay.
I don't think he's the one who demanded the use of the gym.
Right,
Maybe
right,
he
right,
was.
Right.
But
No, you're probably
I
right.
blame
I'm
the
sure.
athletic-
Yeah, I feel like it was
whoever-
volunteered to him.
yeah.
Right.
Whoever volunteered it to him.
Totally. But yeah, so these kids are very disappointed to find that their precious gym where they go to run around, blow off steam, of course, is going to be commandeered by a puppet show for 2 entire months. What happens? Where do we go from here?
Well, this clearly does not bode well with these angry teens.
No.
And they decide to exact revenge.
Yeah.
By breaking into the David Wiemer's puppet workshop in the middle of the night and vandalizing it.
Yeah, slaughtering his puppets.
Yes.
Brutal. Hard to watch. Just absolutely heartbreaking.
Absolutely. Not a dry eye in the place watching watching this man's puppets be set ablaze, his life's work. Also notably, we'll talk a little more about the kids as it goes on. Notably, there's this one of the main kids is named Kevin, and he has this like very young little sister named Alice, who's maybe, I don't know, 7 years old or something like that. And notably, she comes and like joins in, and she's like
tags along wherever they go.
Well, she was trying to stop them.
Yeah,
that's true.
She loves the show. She's the age group for it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. She was trying to stop them, which I thought was going to be like part of the plot. But no, the teens quickly end up at the business end of a service revolver and are taken to the jail for the night.
Yeah.
And then like brought immediately to a courtroom.
Yes.
All within
the next morning.
The
following
the justice
morning.
system moves very quickly in Des Moines, Iowa, especially when it comes to puppet murder.
It's like this Spring Break. That scene Spring Breakers, but for like Christian puppets instead. But yeah, notably, I thought another really funny moment in the film is that they book the 7-year-old girl with everyone else, like this girl.
At no point did they ask her side of the story or anything.
Hey, that's not how this works.
Yeah,
she was there.
Exactly.
True. Yeah,
she was old enough.
There was fur in her hands.
She was no angel. That's for sure.
She just tags along the whole movie. Like I noticed that they don't even try to like save her. She's just She tags along with everyone getting in trouble, and then tags along with everyone getting saved.
Yeah. Well, she was probably stoked to be working with the puppet guy.
Yeah,
no, it wasn't really a punishment for her,
right?
Which we should probably elaborate.
It's like free. Whatchamacallit? What do they call that thing kids go to? Camp.
Yeah,
free camp for her.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, tell us about it. What happens after the vandalism encounter that basically leads to the main arc of this film?
Yeah, I got to make sure I don't have any jokes.
You wrote down any jokes?
I just want to say, I don't have anything to say.
Okay.
So the kids are brought before the judge, who's working in cahoots with the puppeteer. Not exactly a neutral party in the matter. No. The judge seems to be immediately siding with the puppeteer, David Wiemer,
who has decided to press charges.
He has decided, and he's rich and powerful and has a lot of influence.
You could say he's pulling the strings.
So the judge and David Wiemer come up with a creative sentence for the, was it 5 kids? 6 kids?
Yeah, 6 kids.
6 kids including
counting Alice.
Right. 6 kids including Alice. And he sentences them to work 6 hours a day, 5 days a week with David Wiemer to create a new puppet show, or to create a whole new cast of puppets and put on a fundraising show by the end of the summer.
That is their punishment.
To exact a penalty which, in his opinion, fits the crime. Therefore, I am going to place all 5 of you on probation to Mr. Wiemer for a period of 2 months, at the end of which you will present a puppet show for the town, in hopes of gaining some revenue for the community center which was lost to them by you. Do not mistake this for leniency. If for any reason you fail to show up at Mr. Wiemer's studio 5 days a week, 6 hours a day, or fail to present that performance, I will have each one of you hauled back in here and exact the severest penalty I can. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
That is honestly draconian.
Yeah.
I mean, 30 hours a week.
To recap, the kids had their after-school program taken away from them without any notice or any input, which led them to get into vandalism because they had no way of spending their time after school. And because of that vandalism, they're sentenced to work for the guy who took away the after-school program from them, so they can be shaped into ideal citizens.
Yeah. Yeah, that is
it's what's wrong with society in a nutshell. This is what we're out in the streets about.
I completely agree. Yeah, I'm always bringing my hand puppet into the street, so it's a protest.
This is what democracy looks like.
If you hate silly voices, I do not recommend this movie to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ooh, yeah.
So many silly, goofy voices.
Absolutely.
Speaking of those, I think this was my favorite Christian conversion in a movie we've watched so far.
Oh yeah.
Tell us about it.
Conversion via puppet. One of the
It was Bill, I think.
one of the captives, Bill.
Yes.
He's
the first one to go down.
Yeah, he's the first one to go down.
And let's face it, sometimes it's hard to talk about Jesus with other people, but if you got a puppet on, this makes it a little easier. Then it's just like a little bit of a role play.
It does.
Exactly. And Bill stays a little longer one day to work on his puppet further, which is ridiculous.
He was really asking for it.
And he says, "Are you going to try to convert us all?" And David pauses very briefly and says, "Yes."
I'm going to try to convert us all.
Yes.
Oh, well. Go ahead. I don't have anything else to do.
It's like the most overt somebody has been in one of these movies.
Yeah.
I can't remember another movie where somebody wasn't like very coy about the fact that they were trying to convert.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas he just straight up is like, yeah,
He's
I'm going
up
to convert
front.
you. And there's
Yeah.
nothing you can do
Why do you
about it.
think
Or
I
you're going to
pressed
jail.
charges? Why do you think I pressed charges?
Yeah.
He's like, I can't tell a lie.
Yeah. And then Bill says, "Well, go ahead. I have nothing better to do."
Yes. Bill we have right here the most perfect Christian converter and the most perfect subject. Like this is basically Brother Enemy has laid out like the ideal conversion dynamic as far as I'm concerned. This is like your green light scenario.
Yeah. It's great. You are my indentured servant and you will follow my beliefs or you will be punished by fine or jail time.
Yeah. And the worker himself is like, okay, I mean, I got nothing better to do. So it's a perfect relationship.
Yeah, but so then David pulls out his puppets and converts them via puppets.
Yes.
And then Bill puts on his puppet and answers in puppet voice the whole time.
You can do a lot worse than read the Bible.
I like comic books better.
Comic books?
He'll never get born again if he doesn't get his feet wet.
How do I start?
Just jump in with something from the Bible.
Like what?
Except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. John 3:3.
What do you mean, born again?
Jesus said in the Bible that you had to be born again in the Spirit before you can be a child of God and eventually go home to our Father in heaven.
That's right, that's right.
Well, the movie did start with the Bible verse about how Jesus
Used puppets.
used puppets, how he only spoke in parable.
Yes.
Oh,
And
right.
that's probably a mistranslation. It's probably puppet.
Yeah.
Yes. If you actually look back to the ancient Aramaic, the root word for parable and puppet are actually very similar.
Oh, interesting.
And it's entirely possible that Jesus was actually putting on puppet shows all through the Middle East, which was why, honestly, he was executed because he was annoying as fuck.
That's why they nailed his hands down so he
Right.
couldn't talk with them.
Right, so he couldn't know the puppets.
Wow.
But yeah, the verse that it opens the movie with is Mark 4:34, which I'm paraphrasing.
Mark
but,
4 Productions.
right.
Oh,
That's probably why.
Easter egg.
That's probably why Mark 4. Yeah, because it is probably Jesus working in parallels. In parables. The movies are the parables, folks. Do the math. What do I have to tell
Brilliant.
you? Brilliant. We love
that's
these
up
guys.
for debate. We'll talk off record.
But yeah, so actually this movie throws so many Bible verses at you, which I like. I enjoy a heady sort of scriptural film. But yes, that's really the main one. It opens with the idea that Jesus speaks in parables, and I agree that this conversion sequence of the boy Bill really hits home with that message because it's David with fucking like a bird puppet on his hand going, "We need to tell them about Jesus." And then this other one is like, don't, you got to sneak up on him, you dummy. It's like, oh man, calm the fuck down, David. And also David has the just perfect, like I mean, I guess he deserves to take himself seriously because he's a famous puppeteer, but he's just like, he knows he's so confident that like he's doing important, like groundbreaking work. He has his headband on, he has his like stormy brown eyes and his like intense demeanor, but he puts the puppets on and he's just like, yeah, this is me. I'm an artist, He's
got a dark side.
Well, he has gone through personal tragedy. It does reveal that later in the film. I will say, a little out of sequence, but I will say we do find out that David's son and wife were killed in some sort of traffic accident. I think it implies that he was driving and they crashed.
Oh, I didn't think that.
Oh no, maybe it was that the two of them were in a car alone and they crashed.
That would be interesting though if he's the one driving. He's like, and God chose to take him away.
Right, because that is his exact words.
God chose to let me have a few extra drinks. That
right. Anyone here a puppet fan? Do you know your Jim Henson?
I'm definitely a puppet fan.
Yeah. Well, you really know your like pop culture from that entire era. Like, I feel like you really know your like vintage Disney pop culture. I wouldn't be surprised if you had quite a bit of like Jim Henson knowledge and stuff too.
You know all the good French puppets too.
Yeah, like Tatayette.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, sorry, he's Belgium, but he speaks French. I'll be honest. I had my own puppet theater when I was a kid. It's still in my parents' garage. It says Doug's Theater on it.
That's so cool.
And Douglas's. I went by. Oh no, Dante just gave away his actual his God-given name.
His Old
That's
Testament
my Christian name.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed. You can leave that in.
Sure.
I've been putting on. I also had a chipmunk theater. I had multiple puppet theaters when I was a kid, so I took all this very seriously. And although I have hung up my puppets, I am still a fan. I'm a huge Jim Henson fan.
Yeah.
And a huge David Wiemer fan.
Yes, I'm a big David Wiemer fan.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was really into puppets when I was a kid. I collected them. I would like do all the different voices and stuff. It's fun. There is something kids do honestly really respond to puppets. Like there is this thing that people do like therapy for kids with puppets. Like kids will just like talk to a puppet. Like they just like when you have a puppet on, they totally forget that there's like a person controlling it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So hey, there's something to David's methodology here, but
he's the puppeteer's puppeteer.
He's definitely onto something.
Not everyone saw a David Wiemer production, but everyone who did opened a puppet theater of their own.
He's the court's puppeteer as
yes.
well.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Just don't cross him.
Yeah.
No. Oh God, no. But you know what?
Well, actually, real quick, since you're bringing up your childhood, do you have any other Christian upbringing that you are interested in mentioning or anything?
Well, when I was 14, my dad became a Baptist minister. Wow. So that took me on a journey.
I imagine so.
And I'm kind of glad that it happened. PKs, as we call them, pastors' kids, have a reputation for being really rebellious and doing bad things. First of all, Scott, thanks for being impressed by that. I've been waiting my whole life for somebody to actually care and be like, wow. I don't get that reaction most of the time. Most of the time it's like, oh, I'm sorry. But I feel lucky that it happened later because I didn't get screwed up somehow.
Yeah.
I was already kind of on a certain path, which was,
the puppet path.
I'd hung up the puppets already by that point, and hung up the video games, and I became interested in rock music, rap music, and girls. And I had kind of started, I dropped the list from my name and became just Doug.
Sure. Whoa. Yes, the Doug era.
That was the exact era because we moved to a different different city, and I had to make friends over from scratch.
Right.
And I thought, why not just go as Doug?
It's rebrand.
Sure.
Rebrand. I was rebranding myself when that happened. So
yes.
Yes, I survived.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any kind of personal relationship with faith now to speak of, or that you care to speak of, or is it just something that was like a part of your background? It's if that you don't have to answer that if it's personal or anything, but
No, that's a good question. I kind of, my personal belief is that I think it's okay. I think it's okay to live your life and not know how we got here or where we're going afterwards. And I wish more people were like me and said, okay, I don't know what you call that.
Yeah.
I'm not agnostic because I believe in God, like, or at least intelligent design.
yeah.
So maybe that's one thing that I've still carried with me. But I think after that, everything's kind of just like up in the air.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite quotes from the movie Purple Rose of Cairo is life's too short to spend time thinking about life. Let's just live it.
You know, honestly,
It's Todd Baxter of the Chicago Baxters. That kind of sums up my belief system.
that's beautiful.
Because we get so caught up in looking for answers that like life passes us by and like we kind of forget to enjoy it. So that's what I believe.
Yeah, that makes so much sense to me. Yeah, I mean, you know, I consider myself a Christian, but yeah, it just seems pretty presumptuous to, even with that belief system I have, it seems pretty presumptuous to think that I have the answers to know what happens beyond this, you know?
Yeah.
That's a lot, you know?
I kind of get mad when people feel like they have absolute certainty about anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you really like how do you know? It's like, oh, trust me, I know, but how do you really know?
Yeah,
It's like
whenever I get tempted to like leave a comment on something, like halfway through it, I'm like, what the fuck am I talking about? like I don't know.
right. No one knows. No one knows.
Right.
So why pretend like you do?
Absolutely.
But respect other people's beliefs, no matter what they are.
Yes.
Except for Scientology.
Yes.
That's the only one.
Yes.
Well, unfortunately, most of our Patreon subscribers are Scientologists. So we'll
okay,
have to
you can cut that.
out. Yeah. The only color we see is green.
The day that this airs, dozens of like shark lawyers are gonna just swarm and devour me, and you'll never hear from me again.
We happen to worship the almighty dollar.
Yeah.
I was kidding. I swear.
You know, respect other people's beliefs and especially respect their puppet theaters. Don't
Yeah.
go
Exactly.
around just breaking in and vandalizing other people's puppet theaters just
Yes.
because you don't think they do a good job of spreading the appropriate message.
Unless they take your basketball away from you.
Right. Which I, you know, gotta relate to these kids in this capacity. Let's talk about Todd. He's one of the best kids in the movie, and his particular personality drives a lot of the action of the movie. Who is Todd? How does he handle his new life as an indentured puppeteer?
I'd say he's sort of like the alpha male, kind of like the leader of this pack of kids. Like, even though he hates the situation, he assumes like he starts like assigning like stories and characters to the other kids.
Yes.
And he has a big attitude problem
Sure does.
that he
Yeah.
needs to work on.
He's definitely the ringleader. He reminded me of the main teen in class of 1984 a lot, and his relationship to David Wiemer reminded me of his relationship to the new teacher in class of 1984.
He's hanging off of the edge of the community center and he's begging for David Wiemer to pull him up so he can pull a knife on him.
Well, yeah, the turns it took was a little different.
No, but I
probably because
understand
the
that
teacher in
relationship.
class of 1984 wasn't a Christian. He should have been trying to convert the kids instead of just get them into school.
Right. But no, I agree, and that's true. He wants to act so above it all in the beginning. You know, he's like, I don't need these fucking puppets. Like, who cares? Get off my back, old man. But you're right. I mean, he immediately actually one of the funniest parts of the whole film to me was, you know, day one, they come in, they're like, I don't want to be in this puppet workshop. Fuck you. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to give you all Bibles, read through the whole Bible and find a story for tomorrow. He's like, David is literally like, tomorrow, come back with an idea for a story. And like, you know, it cuts to action that we're supposed to think happened directly after that conversation. And it's Todd being like, I know what we'll do. We'll do the prodigal son.
I got the story we're gonna do, okay? It's called The Lost Son. Now listen, this kid, he decides to take his father for everything he's worth. And the old man lets him do it. And then when the kid spends all the money, well, the father's dumb enough to take him back.
The prodigal son.
What?
Here, in Luke chapter 15, verse 11.
You know this book, don't you, Kevin?
So?
You like this stuff, Kevin?
No.
Well, good. Because I got plans to shaft dear old David with the dear old dad part.
All right.
And it's like,
He doesn't even say it
know
right
your
at first. He
Bible.
says the lost son.
He does.
Well,
That's true.
in some the one I looked up, it said the parable of the lost son, and like the New International Version.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So prodigal's a kind of a hard word to pronounce if you don't have somebody else saying it out loud.
Sure.
Scott, you might want to check your Bible, make sure it might be out of date.
I keep updating this thing.
Yeah.
Have you downloaded Bible patch 10.3? Yeah, it was really funny that Todd revealed pretty instantly that he was like ready to buy into the premise, even though he was like so against it before.
Yeah.
But
You know, from the moment you meet Todd, he's going to be like the last one that gets
Right.
saved.
Of course. Yeah. He has that amazing like grimace he does when he finds out the gym is closed, and like, we've got David Wiemer here, and he looks back and he's like, I mean, you can't see my face, gentle listener, but trust me, I'm making an ugly face. And it's very funny. And but you know, this is a troubled kid. I mean, of all the kids in this movie, all of whom of course have their problems, I mean, this kid, his dad is like literally beating on him, like hitting him with a stick and shit like that. And it's very sad.
It's weird because like the prodigal son is obviously supposed to be the like overarching theme or derivative that this movie is from. But like the prodigal son is about like a rich fail son. That's the original fail son story.
The original.
Yeah. With a nice dad who spoils him.
Yeah, and his dad he asks his dad, "Oh, Dad, please, can I be on the board of directors for this Ukrainian energy company?" And he says, "Yeah, sure, son, go off." And he goes off and does all kinds of crack and gets foot jobs and stuff.
Yeah.
And then he comes back and he's like, "Come on, son, you can hang out with me in the White House." And it's the original fail son.
Yes.
And this kid, Todd, is not a fail son. He's
not.
He's been failed by his own father.
That's so true.
Yeah, I think he's actually holding up pretty decently,
Yeah.
all things considered.
Yeah,
An
he does-
abusive alcoholic father beating him just arbitrarily.
Yes.
Todd's father takes one step into the police station and just belts Todd in the face. It's
In front of everyone.
in front of the police, in front of Alice, the little girl. It's just absolutely
Nobody says
heartbreaking.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It really is.
him and Kevin, who lost his father at a young age, are clearly like traumatized by it and have no idea how to like deal with the frustrations and anger stemming out of it. And nobody thinks to bring up those things when these kids are like lashing out.
No.
It's always like, no, you just need to get good with Jesus.
Right.
Like, that'll solve all your problems.
Play with the Christian puppets.
Everything else will fall into place.
Yeah.
Or characters are just straight up like, watch this kid get beat by his dad, and then he's like angry later, and they're like, "Why are you so pissed off all the time, dude?"
Yeah, right. Well, even David Wiemer in it, maybe 2/3 of the way into the movie, too, Kevin, whose dad died, is like, "Oh, you mad that your dad died?"
Yes.
And he's like,
So
"No," and like hits a wall.
Yes.
They're like, "Of course you are." That sucks.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, it's interesting. You know, there's times when Todd can be a bit cruel, but there's also times when Todd says to that one kid, the one kid's acting out. What's the name of the short kid? He's the only kid whose name I couldn't remember. Lou,
the with the curly hair.
Yes,
Yeah.
with the
Sweet
curly
Lou.
hair,
Cool.
Yeah, I like
He was
Pepper
victim
Lou.
number 2.
Yes.
I wrote down the names of all the kids in the order that they get saved.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Bill,
Lou,
then Lou.
victim number 2.
Yeah.
At one point, Todd, like Lou and like Bill are like fighting, and Todd looks at Lou and is like, you were grateful when Bill pulled you out from when he fell into the ice in the river. You know, like Todd's looking out for the other kids. He's like in that moment, he's like trying to pacify his friends. You know, he's trying to be sort of an emotional rock for them.
Yeah.
Seems like a good kid, you know? So what? He dumped paint on a puppet one time.
Yeah.
There's some lines you don't cross
That's true. There is something to that.
that are indicative of having a corrupted soul.
We might as well go over how everybody got converted.
That's a good idea. Yeah. How does victim number 2 get converted? I know there's
The pool party.
Scene, the pool
It's
party.
the pool party.
Yeah.
Converted at the pool party.
And,
a classic tale.
Kevin runs away once he finds out that Bill has been converted, because he says we all promised that we would remain Orthodox Jews.
Right. They made a pact.
Right.
That they weren't going to fall for this jive.
Yes.
Yeah.
I became a Christian last week, and
You what?
I accepted Jesus Christ as my Savior.
Big dumb idiot. Take it easy, Kevin. Trade your friends.
No, David says whenever...
David says you really let him get to you, didn't you?
Holy Kevin.
Traitor.
Kevin!
Come on, Alice. Traitor.
He
Yeah,
called him a
so-
traitor, I believe.
Did.
Yeah.
He called him a traitor and took away his little sister, ran away, and then all that. Then it was just Bill and Lou. And what did Lou say? He said, "I don't discriminate against Christians. You can still swim in my
Okay,
pool."
so this was a
Which is an
really...
insane thing to say
That-
to the only black character
Yes.
in the movie.
I thought that was a very
Well, other than his
interesting...
parents.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought that was a very interesting line. Yeah, it's in one line, in just like an offhand moment, it really just like evoked an entire history of racial tension. It was very interesting. Yeah, he says to a black kid, he says,
Got into him.
I don't know.
Well, it's okay. I'm not prejudiced against Christians. You can swim in my pool. Let's go.
which references the history of segregated pools in the United States. It's a very interesting touch.
It was a joke. It was not a racist joke, but
No.
it was a joke about racism in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting choice.
Very interesting. Yeah, much to think about.
Trying to draw discrimination against anyone is discrimination. There's no
right.
Despite the fact that we are court ordered to become Christians right now.
Basically.
I will not discriminate against you.
Right.
Because I don't believe in discriminating against anybody.
Right.
We're
But-
all one race, the human race.
Right. But I don't care if you're white, black, green, blue, red, purple. Well, we should also say, actually, an interesting point is that a recurring musical motif in the film is the song "Jesus Loves the Little Children," which in the lyrics, it's kind of a vintage song. I don't know if the way it phrased it would be used today, but it's still a very very often sung praise song for kids. I heard it all the time in church when I was young. And, it's interesting because there's nothing, wrong with this in the movie, but I do think that the movie, in its use of the term of the song "Jesus Loves the Little Children," hints at this kind of post-racial, we are all one in Christ. And then that specific joke that they used was this kind of slight reference to that without really talking about it. I don't know if that makes sense. But.
It's a brilliant decision by our director Russell S. Doughton Jr.
We love Russell.
It's just one of the many nice little touches that he put on there.
Yeah.
But Lou, I remember a funny thing about Lou's conversion was that I think Bill sort of converts him when they're in the pool together, because Bill's really excited about his newfound faith, and Lou from poolside, still wearing his bathing suit poolside, has a phone outside, I believe, and calls up David at the puppet theater. And Lou's like, "David, I need help." And David immediately just reaches down by his desk and pulls out a Bible and puts it on the chair. It's so funny. I love that moment. He's always fucking armed and locked and loaded. I love
You
this
need
guy.
that pocket Bible ready to go at all times because you never know when you're going to need it.
You never know. You better carry one of these things
an
around.
ankle holster.
Yes. You know I keep that thing on me, as they say.
And then after Lou gets saved, he does a cannonball for Jesus into the pool.
He literally says the prayer to convert and then cannonballs
The
immediately
self-baptism.
following.
That is so alpha.
Fantastic.
I love that. Yeah, Lou is absolutely like a sleeper character. He's so good. The next victim, if I'm not mistaken, is Tina.
That's correct.
Yes, because now that Bill and Sweet Lou are saved, they decide to go to Tina's house very late at night, throw a rock at the window to get her attention, and then inform her that she wears too much makeup.
Yes.
Tina, you're a pretty girl, and you don't need all that makeup or that play acting you do, okay?
Okay. Bill,
I'm sorry too, Tina.
what is this, a convention?
Just us two. We like you, Tina.
Just as you are. And if you want to wear all that junk on your face, go ahead. We'll like you anyway.
This is a recurring motif in the film. There's like 5 or 6 separate occasions where one of the young characters informs her that she wears too much makeup.
Bill says you look like a panda.
Yeah. And
nobody's perfect, Bill.
Right.
Plus, but at the same time that they're criticizing her, it seems like both Lou and Bill are like interested in dating Tina.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
It's so obvious.
Yeah. Yeah. Even in this like sort of innocent, maybe like pre-sexual way. Certainly the movie has no hint of that, although, you know, they're teens.
It's really like, I find it really offensive when guys like insult women to get their attention.
Absolutely.
Like that shit needs to be the end right now.
I completely agree. Yeah.
Very
And
childish shit.
it really is. And yeah, but it is
Really? Because I think... No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, like but it was also so funny that not only was that ongoing, but it was at this point when they both came to her like to apologize and like maybe also try to share the good news with her, like to convert her to Christ.
Like,
they're like,
good news.
And when she gets offended that they're like criticizing her makeup, they're like, but no, like we're trying to help you.
Right.
Yeah. Like,
right.
No,
we're saying this because we like you.
Right.
Like,
Right.
We want you to come to Jesus and date us.
Yes.
Both.
But you know, Tina does in a roundabout way. She does.
I want to see a movie like this, but they destroyed like some guy's funny hat collection, and then they're sentenced to hang out with Mysterio or whatever the pickup artist is.
Mystery,
yeah. For 6 hours a day, 5 days a week
to learn how to be better at getting women.
And speaking of sexual tension, like David Wiemer, the puppeteer, is like clearly like flirting and trying to get with Kevin and Alice's mom.
Yes.
Like, throughout the whole movie.
Yes.
That doesn't pay off either.
Yeah, we never see the end of it.
She just says "good show" at the end of the.
That's true. I mean, you know, there could
It's
be a story that
It's
happens.
implied that they start dating after the movie.
Oh, okay.
At least that's the way that I saw it.
I agree. I
headcanon.
believe it's strongly implied. And just the way, so the first time that she introduces herself to David, she mentions that her husband died 2 years ago. And with
It's
like
a great icebreaker, by the
great.
way.
Turns out it's a great icebreaker. Within a
literally.
minute of that, he's pretty much asking her out.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, in all of these movies in this genre, you can't. There's like an unwritten rule that 2 adults with lives already behind them cannot engage in romantic interest with each other unless it was like, oh, I lost someone in a tragic way, because it's
Right.
like you have to be with the person that you are in love with forever.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
No questions asked, unless they did something wrong. It's never can be like a mutual parting of the ways,
Right,
or something like that.
Right.
You also can't have just a single 42-year-old that's never been married before.
Exactly. Hanging out with kids all day.
Like me.
Your Christian movie's coming, Dante.
Yeah.
I hope so.
You got to bring back Douglas's theater.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's dust it off.
Oh my God, you could remake this movie. Just putting it out there.
Well, I'll think about it.
Yeah. Thank you.
But Tina, does despite the fact that the boys are doing a very clumsy job at trying to get her to come to Christ, she does. She has an interesting confrontation with her seemingly very sort of like hands-off parents, or at least like parents that don't really like get what she's going through. She tries to like confess her sins to them. David is walking by just on the street, somehow intercepts this conversation and just invites himself into the front yard.
In the middle of the conversation, he emerges from behind a bush.
Yes.
I was like, couldn't help it over here since I've been spying on you for the last hour.
Some fucking Michael Myers
and Tina's
shit.
parents claim to be Christian, but they're clearly faking it.
Yes.
They're just clearly like trying to say all the right things and like keywords, but the audience can see right through them, and so can David.
Yes. I'm definitely going to put some audio in from that scene of the father being like, I think you have to know Jesus, if I'm not mistaken.
We believe in God, and we try to lead good lives.
We even read the Bible sometimes.
Did you read the part about having to be born again of the Spirit to enter the kingdom of heaven?
Well, it sounds familiar.
I'll bet.
Oh, sure, I remember it.
And David's just rolling his eyes at him age.
Can you believe this guy?
Like, are you kidding me with these?
That part.
Bible in one hand, puppet in the other, ready to go.
That part actually reminded me of the film that we reviewed 2 weeks ago, and also you played on our stream the other week, the Cristiano film. Holy shit, I'm blanking on
Crime
the title.
of the Age?
Crime of the Age, where this is more explicit. It's a comedy, but like where the people are like, I'm a Christian, but I don't pray. And like that's like the whole.
That's odd.
yeah. So it's another one of those.
By the way, I've been saying that. Me and my girlfriend have been quoting that all week long. That's odd. Like everything, like she runs out of waffles, and I'm like, that's odd.
A Christian who runs out of waffles.
Interesting. If any way I can work it into our daily life, I work it in.
That's the Cristiano touch. That's the Cristiano touch. But yeah, that scene with Tina's parents did remind me of that Christian movie trope, classic Christian movie trope of the Christian who the audience knows is not really that good of a Christian. But also interesting to note is that like Tina cannot do anything right, like, which is also a pretty Christian movie trope where it's like one of the female characters just like it really doesn't seem like anything she does is right, and people just tell her she's wrong and she kind of like accepts it. She just like takes the L. Like she's like trying to get her parents to like engage in like a good faith discussion with her about like her life, and like and she's like, why aren't they listening to me? And David's like, well, you shouldn't be asking them for forgiveness. You should be asking God.
Right.
And she's like, oh, okay. Like you start with God and then everyone else gets it. And it's like her parents are like fucking neurotic, like like hands off, but like also overprotective, like neurotic, like suburban, parents. It's like they need to do some serious listening here. And it's David just doesn't care,
Your heart breaks for Tina.
Really?
Especially like, there's this one scene where she's eavesdropping on two people having a conversation about her, and she can't stand it anymore. So she turns on the sprinklers and then runs away crying to disrupt the conversation so that they can't talk about her anymore. There's just so much pain inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who can't relate to that?
I know. Yeah. Tina was very, very relatable character, maybe not as tortured in like a physically traumatizing way as Todd, but still obviously with a lot of issues that are unaddressed. And do
you think she wanted to become a Christian to fit in because they're always giving her a hard time?
I mean, honestly, it could be.
Yeah, I mean, her whole thing is hanging out with these guys who just rip on her all the time.
Right.
And yeah, I agree. And I think that was what the director was trying to say too.
I guess, then the final two really are Kevin and Todd, as far as people who convert to Christianity. But this actually kind of leads into the final action of the movie. I wonder if, as we sort of explicate the final rise and fall of the movie, that we can talk about their characters' conversions. I will set this up by saying that as all these things are happening, the court-ordered puppeteers are getting closer and closer to their big show. It's tomorrow. It's the big day. After that, your probation period is over, kids. And
yeah, so give it your all, because no matter what, you're free tomorrow.
But they're clearly having a good time. They're all getting along. Another Christian movie trope. Now that everyone's converted, everyone's like in perfect harmony with each other. Like the parents are like, lemonade, everyone, and like everyone's just like everyone's like a beautiful fucking Norman Rockwell painting. It's like everyone's loving it. But notably, Todd is absent at the puppet house the night before the big show. His father beat him once again. He's like, "You're not going to hang out with that doll guy," and like hits him with a fucking cane or something. Very brutal.
That dad needs to go before the judge.
Yeah,
Jesus.
what the fuck?
Right?
He was in the police station. He must be like the fucking mayor or something.
Yeah, he punched a kid in front of police officers in the police station.
Yeah.
Well, as someone who grew up Christian, I could tell you that exercising discipline on your kids is completely acceptable.
Right.
Yeah, good point.
So
it's a little sanctioned.
So I just need to shut up and mind my own business.
Yeah, that's a little bit of sanctioned violence there, but
it was 1981 after all.
Right. Yeah, so Todd does not show up to puppet practice that night. No one really seems to notice or ask about him, basically. But after everyone is gone, he once again sneaks in. However, this time he doesn't vandalize. He's going to do something, but he loads up all the puppets into a trash bag and takes them away. And this leads into one of the most important and tumultuous scenes in the entire film, the confrontation between
Under the Bridge.
Red Hot Chili Peppers starts playing. And Kevin and Todd are two troubled teen boys. Great actors, by the way. Great casting, both of those kids. I really liked their performances. Kevin as the, sort of reluctant but brooding teen who spent most of his life without a father. Todd is the like wise ass kind of alpha ringleader. They were both very good. But what's the nature of their confrontation under the bridge?
Well, I believe Kevin tries to stop Todd from throwing the garbage bag full of puppets away. And man, it gets intense. They end up under the bridge, rolling around in the mud, fighting. Mm-hmm. And it's really emotional. It's really high stakes.
Yes.
The puppet show is relying on those puppets.
Yes, it's tomorrow.
This is very high stakes. Yeah, no puppets, no show.
Yes.
So like Todd must be stopped.
He has to be stopped at all costs.
It's so much drama.
Yeah, and you know what I actually just noticed, like as we're talking about it now, is that so earlier in the film, there's sort of an expository scene where Todd and Kevin are on that same bridge and they're talking, and Todd says that he learned at a young age that the bridge is what divides the town between the good part and the bad part. And Todd lives in the bad part, and people in town throw all their junk under the bridge. So he's going to take the puppets, he's going to take the hard work, and he's going to throw it under the bridge, which sort of is like this symbol of like things that are lost and forgotten and thrown away, and like a symbol of maybe like the class divide in this town. So it's an interesting image the more I think about it,
I'll go as far as to say like these movies are like really well written and like really well filmed and cast, and have good music. Like
the music bangs.
Very surprising.
Yeah. No, honestly, I mean, like they can be a little maybe dry for someone who doesn't want this type of entertainment, or I could understand someone not wanting to watch an entire movie about like whether a puppet show is going to go off or not. But like, yeah, you got to admit, like it's pretty well done.
Yeah, it's really engaging and like really pure too. It had a similar actually, do you know, Dante, if the Cristianos worked with Mark IV Productions in any capacity too? Because they do kind of have like a similar like vibe or tone to it, where they obviously are really into filmmaking and like movies being entertaining and engaging in general, but also seem like genuinely trying to like get across a Christian message, where like a lot of movies we watch are kind of like preaching to the choir to some extent.
Well, I don't know if they were friends or if they were like rivals. Like, they, like if the Cristiano brothers broke into Mark IV Productions workshop in the middle of the night to try to. But I mean, let's the Mark IV came first. I mean, these movies are made the same. Cristiano brothers came late 80s or so. So
yeah,
I mean, they must have known what was out there, and it must have inspired them on, and they must have learned from these films in some way.
Yeah, that's a good point. True. They probably did.
That has to be true. But yeah, you know, there is this confrontation. Kevin begs Todd to be at the show tomorrow. Kevin was able to save the puppets, but it's still unclear. Is Todd going to come? Is he not?
Is it going to be a no-show?
He could be. And
well, the outcome, we should say that during the confrontation between Todd and Kevin, Todd beats down Kevin pretty viciously, and Kevin refuses to raise a fist, and he instead turns the other cheek and keeps saying, like, we're only doing this so that you will feel accepted and be part of the gang under Christ.
Very powerful.
Romans 12:21, you got to overcome evil with good. Just one of the many verses from this film that kind of reminds me of that moment, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so the next day, the big puppet show, the kids, everyone's loaded into the theater. The entire fucking town is here to see these hand puppets tell you about the prodigal son. The judge is there. The parents are there. Many extras who we haven't seen before, who while the show is going on, the film lingers on people with like absolutely vacant expressions, like nothing happening.
Also,
until the very end.
Yeah. Right. Also, the athletic director was there.
Right.
The bastard who caused all this mayhem in the first place is there, who has not been seen since he announced that he was shutting down the community center.
Yeah, he didn't dare show his face during that time. Disgrace.
Well, he didn't want to sit in on the dress rehearsals because that would ruin the show.
Right.
He wanted to watch it for the first time with everyone else.
Sure. Yeah. Didn't want to get spoiled.
But man, like when the show ends, people are like roaring applause. People are thrilled. They loved it. They loved
really
the puppet
did.
show.
They really did. And in part that was because Todd, the true artist that he is, he comes in at the last minute. You know, he's troubled. He's like in a rush of emotion.
They forget their lines.
Yeah, he can't even
thrown off a little bit for a second.
Right, he's trying to perform that final scene, but it works.
Feels the emotion.
They start speaking from the heart.
You cannot make a father hate because he loves you.
How? I'm dirty and I've done bad things.
But you are my son, and I love you as the Father above loves us all.
Well, this is the part where it kind of got a little muddled, the analogy between the prodigal son and Todd's story, because obviously in Todd's relating to Todd, the father in the prodigal son story is meant to be Jesus.
Right.
But he was just viciously beaten by his dad the day before. He smashes a window to his own house because he's so upset that he has to go home the night before. And now he has to act as the lead in a play about how it's okay to go back to your dad, and he will accept you no matter what, no matter how much you've done to wrong him.
Sure.
So yeah, naturally overwhelmed with emotion to the point where he can't really perform.
Right.
Yeah. I thought it was like really heartbreaking that he's like genuinely asking in the moment while performing this character, like, can God forgive me? Basically.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, for what?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Victim of
It's still like,
circumstance.
yeah. So it was a little strange how they framed it, as if like, despite the fact that his lashing out is totally understandable and you can see exactly where it's coming from, and all of the other characters can see exactly. The police saw where it was coming from.
Right.
And still the onus of asking for forgiveness is on Todd because he was not a good Christian.
Right.
Because he tried to throw the puppets off the bridge.
Right.
Yeah. So a little fucked up.
No, yeah, totally. I mean, I get that. Yeah, I mean, you know, to ask forgiveness for one's sins is incumbent on all Christians, despite levels of severity, but like of the sin. I mean, but like you're right in the way that the events of this movie unfolded. It does seem a little, it's just hard to blame Todd.
Yeah.
It's really hard to see in that, because again, all we have to go by is the story that the filmmakers chose to tell us. We only have these details, and it's Todd acts out sometimes, but it's just like so hard to put any blame on him. He really seems like a victim of his circumstances.
Yeah. It's just kind of upsetting that they put like being a Christian above all, like no matter what, no matter what's going on in your personal life, you have to be a Christian.
But that's it. That's just it.
And once you do that, your dad's going to stop beating you.
Right.
It seems to be the implication.
It's in a way, yes. Also, I mean, even just if not that, but like I was saying earlier, it's like everyone who's converted is like living together in this like happy family, basically.
Yeah.
Like they're all, even the parents are starting to come to like puppet theater and like helping out. Everyone's like, all right, like here. And, you know, Todd is he's still hurt. He's still like, he's looking at them with like a grimace on his face, you know, and like that. And it's like, there is something that's like incumbent on him to let go of his trauma, to let go of his emotions so that he's capable of joining this like, this jubilation. You know what I mean?
They did the same thing to Kevin earlier.
Yes, they did.
He's still obviously very raw from the death of his father, and everyone surrounds him and is just like, why are you so pissed off, dude? Just pray.
I just remembered the part where David in that moment tries to sort of like goad him into a conversion by being like, your father didn't leave you alone when he died. And
he's right here. And he pulled out a little puppet.
But he was like, you know, he didn't want you to act like a little kid. I can't remember the exact line, but I'm going to put it in. But do you remember when David was like, hey, you're going to like act like a little kid and be mad at God?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, because that part was a little bit harsh, I have to say.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, he said, your dad believed in you. He didn't think you were going to act like a little kid and be mad with God.
Your dad believed in you. Now, he didn't think you were going to act like a little kid and get angry with God.
Yeah, that's a lot to say to a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like right before that, one of his friends was like, your dad's dead, but... And then like he like flips out.
Yeah.
Your dad's dead, but...
Well...
Harsh.
Well, I would say that was a pretty thorough discussion of Brother Enemy. Anyone listening, you've got to watch this film. Hopefully you were there at our live stream the other Sunday, but... If not, this film is available on YouTube. So definitely do a search on the 1981 film Brother Enemy. And I mean, I think you're going to love this one. It's really special, even as far as the many we've covered for the show before. But what did we think? What are our final thoughts? And let's give this film the official Boys Bible Study review.
I thought the performances were really great. I'm surprised when sometimes we watch a movie such as this with the great performances and actors haven't been in anything else, which I think was the case with Todd. He really should have been in more.
Yeah.
Loved how many Bible verses were in it for the study.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead, give this movie a perfect score 8 out of 8 lost weeks of basketball.
I liked this movie a lot. It was pretty well made for, small, low budget movie. Really shine a spotlight on the vicious circle of, taking away people's after school activities and the rise in youth crime that would follow. Probably directly correlated with that. Mm-hmm. And the complete joke that the criminal justice system is. And still, they were all ultimately redeemed through creative sentencing. And I'll give this movie 2 out of 2 colorways of the David Wiemer puppets t-shirts. The only 2 t-shirts that David Wiemer wears are for his own puppet company.
And they look so good.
They look really good.
He dresses like every 30, 40 something in Los Angeles, basically. He wears the cool vintage graphic tee. Looks like he works out vaguely. He walks among us, David, honestly. Love that guy. As for me, I think that this was a pretty impressively put together and well acted film. The story had a lot of nuance. I felt like as we were discussing it uncovered layers for me that I didn't even notice when we were watching the film. I also forgot to reference. I'm now just want to remembered something I wanted to put in my notes. I have underlined twice: puppets go to hell. Because there is one offhand moment that I forgot about where a puppet is saying, I think to Bill, the puppet's like,
"You're lucky to be a human and get to be saved. We're just fur and feathers."
In my mind, I was like, oh my God, all these puppets are going to hell.
Yeah.
These puppets are not real. They are only the shadows of consciousness.
Not only were the original ones murdered by the teenagers, but they also went to hell.
Yeah, they went to hell.
After.
They went to hell. I am going to then therefore have to give this film 666 out of 666 puppets in hell. Just imagine. I'm sorry, I hate to say it, kids. Kermit the Frog, he's going to hell.
Oh.
Wow.
He's not a real guy. He doesn't have a soul.
Imagine Jonathan Sperry. He's at the puppet cemetery with a young puppet. It's like, you hear all them screaming? That'll be you one day because all puppets go to hell.
Or a fucking Kermit the Frog Hellraiser is just have blood on the wall says, I am in hell, help me. Anyways, what do you think, Dante?
Well, of course, I love this movie because I picked it, so I'm biased. But man, I told you guys I've probably seen this half a dozen times. It doesn't get old. If the goal for a Christian filmmaker is to make a film that is as entertaining and engaging as a secular film, I think they pull it off really well in this one.
Yeah.
I mean, you're hooked from the first scene of the movie.
Yes.
After you see the setup with the kids rolling their eyes because they can't play, no one's gonna watch this movie for 5 minutes and turn it off. I dare anybody to watch the first 5 minutes of this movie and turn it off. Therefore, I give this film, Brother Enemy, 5 out of 5 quick draw pocket Bibles.
Yeah. David Wiemer has those pocket Bibles ready to go. Well, what do you know, Brother Enemy? Thank you, Dante, for coming on the show and showing us this film. I really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me. Thanks for having me do the stream. Thanks for having me on your podcast. This was so much fun.
Yeah, we're so glad. And how can people find your mystery mixes? And also, are there any other places online where people could follow you if they want to keep up with your work?
Dante'sMysteryMix.com will send you to those, and DanteFontana.com will send you to my other all my links. That's my link tree.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, check out Dante's work. Like I said, the mystery mixes are really delightful combinations of collages of found footage, especially focusing on vintage commercials, vintage musical performances on both, American and European and foreign TV. You do a really good job of mixing them down to this really fun, like posy, like psychedelic experience. I really enjoy watching them. So
thank you very much.
We highly recommend everyone listening to Boys Bible Study. Please check out Dante's work. On our side of things, as always, if you enjoy our free episodes, which, by the way, if you go to boysbiblestudy.com, you can subscribe and listen to our entire catalog of free episodes. But we also have a Patreon. Anyone generous enough to pledge $5 or more per month unlocks our entire back catalog of bonus episodes. Check out patreon.com/boysbiblestudy. We also like to shout out all of our patrons at the $20 tier. Thank you so much to our patron saints, Nicole, Russell, Marissa, and Jeff. We really appreciate your generous support. If you want to join their ranks, their esteemed ranks, feel free to bump your pledge up to the 20 per month tier. Also, our outro music is Oh My God by pop singer Mary. Please check out Mary's work on Bandcamp and Spotify. From all of us here at Boys Bible Study, myself, Ash, my co-hosts, Scott and Julian, our guest today, Dante Fontana, we would like to say, peace be with you.
And also with you.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I feel your love in me, it's coming from within. Oh my God, my devotion is so unwavering. Divine emotions when you enter me. Every day